We're good here.
We are recording.
I mean, this is really not going to be the start of the podcast. So just remember, Chris, like we're going a little bit having fun.
Yo,
Yep.
I'm in here in between the sheets. You know it's about to be discreet.
What?
Not so discreet, probably.
Not so discreet.
Not so discreet.
I was trying to set the tone.
We're not
supposed
being
to be discreet, but it's kind of not.
We're not being discreet today.
That's right.
What are you talking
That's
about?
right.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks. For you, it's been even longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had the vid.
You know, I don't like saying I had the vid. I never tested positive
Uncle Roro came to visit you?
for
You
it.
like
but I was
sense
out.
of smell.
I
like
did
it was
lose my.
something-
I
let's
did
just
lose
be
my sense of
honest.
smell. I did lose my sense of taste. But I have tested negative like 6 times. But
That's good.
But what's weird is I can't. My taste is still a little
Yeah,
off.
it's
You
just
said
like
that
that.
yours has stayed like that.
Yeah, well, see, I got my taste back right away, but my smell, like I sometimes like perfumes and bleach and things like that. It
Smells
smells
off.
really weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Messes
you guys
with your
welcome
senses.
to Between the
Yes.
Sheets with Leah. My
We're
name
back.
is Leah. I'm your host.
Yes.
I am a photographer, a mom, a wifey. I am an action-taking, God-fearing, manifesting queen.
Triple threat.
Yes. Introduce yourself, Whitney.
WHITNEY period, Pooh. I'm here.
Pooh?
I missed
That's
y'all.
a new one. I love
No,
that.
I've been saying Pooh. I've been saying period, Pooh.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that either. They're not.
Y'all need to go back.
I check her back on the things. Just like the last time, she's like, "Oh, my mic is always like this." Then I ran back like the last 5 episodes after. I was like, "No, it wasn't."
Wait, what do you mean her mic was
It
like
was
what?
to the
To the
side.
side.
Oh.
I check her. I double check up on her.
It was.
Like, was it? Was somebody claiming it was here, or?
No, like the other way.
Is
I told her, I said, "Come on, girl. Like you're an OG now. Like you're an OG now of this podcast."
I'm still learning a little bit.
Nah, she's good. Whitney is gonna. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We're
Anyways,
getting
go
there.
ahead, Trent.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Trent Cotten, videographer, editor, and comedian.
Welcome back.
Woo.
The laugh track. Thank you.
I got you. Woo.
It's good to be back too.
Yeah.
I missed you guys.
We missed
Really?
you.
too.
Really?
We did. Even though you didn't come to the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. You were on stage
Right.
on Saturday. And
Yes.
that's why you didn't come to my party.
And that's why I didn't come. I forgot that I said I would do this gig, and yeah, I can't cancel.
Yeah.
So I had to do it, and I had to
You
miss
gotta
your
be
party.
consistent.
I'm sorry.
You got to be
It's
consistent.
true.
Yes.
It's true.
That's a good thing.
But you killed it.
You know, it was at a sports bar. It was a horrible comedy show. I'm not gonna lie. We did it at a sports bar during an important
Shout out
game.
Rhino.
Shout out Rhinos.
Rhino was trying to be there for you to support, but maybe they just didn't get it right. No.
Horrible.
Not the best night.
Horrible experience. No one's paying attention to you. A few people did.
Patriots fans are not nice.
They're not nice. They were angry at us.
They're not nice.
They were upset. I was telling Leah after the show, we went out to the smoke pad with another comic to kind of lick our wounds, and we're just listening. We're just listening to these group of guys like, these comics, oh my god, just so annoying, and that's why we're losing right now.
it
And
was your fault.
yeah, it was our fault.
It's okay.
So I was gonna quit.
That's why they're losing right now.
Sometimes you have to take
In fact,
one for the
I was
team.
gonna quit comedy and then come to your party that night, and then somebody.
You're gonna be done.
I was on my way out, and somebody came up to me. He was like, "Hey, man, I was in the back. I was listening. You're funny."
And that was it. And
And
it
that
was
was
like,
it. And I'm right back in.
it just like revamped.
So I wanted
for
to
you.
celebrate, and I saw Spider-Man.
Yeah, so he didn't come and celebrate with us like, whoa, yeah,
Right.
somebody thought
I
it was
did a good
funny.
job,
I want
yeah.
to come over here with these people.
I'm gonna
He was
go-
like, let me go see Spider-Man.
and sit in quiet.
Well, how late did you guys go?
We were late.
Late.
And Whitney was staying up. She was on the mic until
What?
2 or 3
Yes.
o'clock
Oh,
in the
y-
morning.
Oh wait, y'all had karaoke?
Oh, and we
yes.
had comedians up in here.
Yes.
What? No, no.
But you missed
Oh,
out.
who?
So.
Jessica?
No, and I was gonna tell you
Shout
it
out
was
to
safe because
Jessica.
Jessica couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Shout
I
out.
thought that was a real reason why you didn't.
That
come.
is actually. Thank you for saying that. That I thought Jessica was coming,
Yeah.
and
Shout out Jessica Worster. Dang, that girl's funny.
Funny.
yeah, that picture. That was
Funny.
honestly, there was just a moment of me crying inside
picture.
after
If you
she
guys
was.
haven't seen that picture, I'm gonna ask Dana Keith to throw it
That
out there one more
picture
time, or
had
Trent will put it
me-
up on his Instagram one more time, just so you guys can kind of see
I
his
was
face
dead
and
when I
thoughts.
Oh.
seen that picture.
Anyway,
Good stuff.
But,
So-
yes, so we're here.
We are here. You guys are going to see that I'm wearing my Merry and Bright shirt. So we're
Yes.
not quite to Christmas. And I'm hoping actually by the time this airs that
Yes.
it's still before Christmas.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Yes.
I'm very excited. We didn't do the ugly stuff. You know, I have to admit, we've been a little all over the place just trying to get party squared away, you know, and so,
busy.
but we have to stay consistent with the podcast too, because people are listening and they love it.
Yes.
And that's really powerful. So
Yes. Today, Miss Lea is in the hot seat today.
Uh-oh.
yep. That's what I
She
hear.
had
what I
a
hear.
side communication podcast. I don't know, whatever his show is called.
So Dana Keith has his own show now. It's called Networking Your Network.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Shout out Dana Keith.
Shout out Dana Keith.
And
So
I was
great.
actually I wasn't his first guest,
You were not.
but I was his second guest.
Right.
So, all right, you know, okay, we'll deal. But he really brought it. Dana
did.
really brought it.
Yo,
and he had
Dana
some
is a
really
great
tough-
interviewer. He knows what he's doing. Like
Yes.
he's about to talk like Larry King,
Yes.
you know, esque.
Damn.
Yeah.
I
I felt like that. I felt like I was in that hot seat for
She
a minute. I was
came
like, wait a
out of the
second, like,
office.
should I have said that? Should I have not said that? Do I need to be
She
like...
came out of the office. She was like, was that good? I was like, yeah, it was great. We're talking about you on the podcast
Yeah.
now. So,
I was a little concerned
Yeah.
because some of the questions that came up were very, you know, they were a little deeper than I didn't know. And one thing that I learned from, you know, Dana is when he had an experience or one of the podcasts, maybe it was Brother Lux that he was on, and he just said that your story is not just your story.
Yes.
Like other people are involved. And so sometimes when you put your story out there, you have to realize that it's affecting other people.
yes.
And, you know, so I get it. I
Yes.
get it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, but I gave free reign to Whitney today
Yes.
because
Yes.
she said that she wanted to go ahead and take it from there. And then Trent, did you listen to that podcast? With
I did.
Dana?
I did. I heard about the bus story when you came down there for your love.
I love that, though. I love that we got to hear a different side of you. And I've been around, but I even heard some nuggets and some different things that I didn't know about you.
Yeah,
And it's important.
Yeah.
We need to hear your story.
I agree.
So
And
I want to
I'm
take it
trying
way back in the back.
to- Okay.
So, you know, we got to talk about, you know, your love relationship, your relationship with your husband. But I want to take it back to, you know, we kind of touched on it a couple of times through some of the other podcasts. But you're born and raised Fountain, correct?
No. So
Okay.
I was actually born in Houston, Texas.
See, I did not
Okay,
know that.
H-Town.
I did
Houston
not know
in the
that.
house.
H-Town.
My dad, you know, he was a chef.
Yes.
And at that particular time, he had gotten offered a job in Houston.
Okay.
And so he decided to uproot, you know, my mom and my sister at the time. My sister's 5 older than me.
Right.
5 years older than me. And they went to Houston. They hated it.
Really?
Hated it. So they weren't even there but a year. So I've been here since I was 1 year old.
Okay.
So I consider myself
You're
a
a
native.
native. You're a native.
Yeah.
You're a native. Ever wanted to go back to Texas?
I have went through Texas on a plane ride through Houston, and I never want to go back. Yeah, like I got off. It was like hot and muggy,
Yeah.
and my mom told me about the bugs, and
They're big.
Texas bugs is different. They're
yeah,
different.
no, and they fly and they're
Yes.
big and they make noises, and so I just no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Leah's
I've been to
not
different
an
parts of
insect person.
Texas,
Okay.
you know, but San Antonio.
Right.
Oh, I
that
love
was
San Antonio.
beautiful place.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just heard from somebody that came and stayed with us
Yeah.
in the Airbnb that they recommend it for coming through, but not for staying.
Mm.
You know, so.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
experience with San Antonio was different. Okay, so you've been. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
No. So you've been here since you're 1 year old. Mm-hmm. Fountain,
Yeah, Fountain Whitefield
Fountain.
security area.
always been down here.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you know, aside from where Nando and I left too when we moved
Right.
out and things of that nature.
Right. Oh yeah, you guys did talk about on the last podcast that you lived like Murray area, Mitchell High School.
And even when I was growing up, I think it was, you know, Janitel is the middle school that I went to.
Okay.
And at that time, it was 7th, 8th, and 9th. That was middle
Yep.
school.
Right,
You know, I
right.
know that they've since
Yep.
then like
It's
changed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matter of fact, my sister was the last 9th grade class at Watson before they switched
Yeah,
it
because
over.
then it was like
'Cause-
9th, 10th, 11th, 12th in
Right.
high school.
Right.
Yes.
So I was in 8th grade and I had, you know, thrown myself into a little bit of a crowd that probably wasn't the best. And they weren't from the field. They were from Pikes Peak Park area.
Okay.
I was gonna say something, but
no, you
so
need
they
to
were from
say it.
they, you know, Harrison,
Yeah.
Sierra area, and so we were kicking it with some of those people down there, and those were my homies. Like those
Yeah.
were the people that I just familiarized myself with, that I kind of sought out, you know, after for whatever reasons. And when I hit the 8th grade, I told my dad, I says, I want to go to Harrison. He's like, you're crazy, and I said, well, if you don't let me go, I'm going to drop out.
Really?
And so, of course, he
Teenagers.
was like, yeah. And so he said, okay, well, it's either her drop out. And at this point, there was already, a few things that had happened in my life that my dad didn't want to push too much with me. Right. He knew that if he pushed too much that I was, I wouldn't listen. Right. I think he was just kind of like, okay.
Allowing you to make your own decisions and try to support.
Which was not the best decision at all.
So Harrison was...
I started Harrison in the 9th grade because they were already 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Right.
And so I went from 8th, junior high into the 9th grade at Harrison. And so you have all the high schoolers there and everything, but we were never there. I was never at school.
Never at school. Always
never
skipped.
At school. Yes.
Always skipped.
I had a friend named Eugene. He was one of my best friends.
That's so weird. That's my dad's name.
Really?
Yes. With the E.
Yeah. Eugene.
That's crazy.
And he was one of my bestest friends. And he would come and pick me up all the way in Fountain every single day for school. I'm even sure he probably had a little crush on me. But.
Oh, yeah, he did. He would drive all the way down to Fountain to pick you up. Oh, yeah. He was.
Yeah.
Yes. But he was like my best friend in those days. Yeah. And we would pull up to the school and we would promise each other, like, we're going to go to class. So we would pull in, like, we're going to go to class today. Yeah. We're going to go to class today. And we would get out and we would see everybody walking this way. And there was, the Meadows is down there.
Yep.
And there was a party house in the Meadows that we would always go to. His name was Ian.
During the day?
During school. And
to cut up?
Just go, you go drink, you go smoke, you do, yes. Yep. And so we knew that, okay, well, we're going to go to the Meadows. And so we see everybody coming, we're like,
we're out.
Oh, dang, all right. We're not going
So was it Eugene or you, like the bad influence?
It was both.
Who was leading who? Y'all would just switch?
It was both. We would kind of look at each other like, well, what are we doing? Are we going? Are we not going?
Right.
But we would roll together. So.
McKenna, if you're listening to this, I wish you would. I wish you would.
I mean, she's going to try it.
You better take your butt to school.
It was the worst. It was the worst decision. So they ended up kicking me out of Harrison because I wasn't there long enough. And they sent me back to Janitel.
I was going to say that's truancy stuff too. Did your parents get in trouble for you not being in school?
No, not at that time.
That's good.
It was just kind of like, nope, you can't come here anymore. Right. You got to go back to your.
Which Harrison is that's a ghetto school.
It is.
That's all I dated was Harrison boys. Yeah. Harrison and Fountain Fort Carson. That's it.
Explains a lot.
She used to like her little Latinos.
Yeah, I did.
Latina boys.
I did, and they're trouble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, but okay. So we got you with your friend.
Yeah.
What was the most pivotal moment, I would say, in between middle school to high school time to where you felt like you were actually really starting to cut up, and why?
Let's see. Well, if I take it even further back, I mean, just to be honest with you, and I don't know how much I can incriminate myself. This is way
statutes of limitations. Right? You're good.
Right. Should be
except
good.
Murder.
Right? Yes.
Except murder.
No. So, I was one of the girls that you had a choice as a female, especially if you were going to kick it with gangbangers. You either put out or you put in. Okay. Right. And I was not going to be one of the put out girls.
Right.
Because I seen how they got treated and I seen how they did them dirty and the reputation that they had. And I was like, oh, hell no. You ain't treating me like that. No way. You know what I mean? So what do I got to do to put in?
Right.
And I always wanted to be the girl that they could, felt like same thing. You could kick it with the boys and you could, do whatever they did. And I was always like that. Oh, you could do that. I could do that too.
Right.
Oh, you could do that. I could do that too. And so I had a girlfriend named Rosa at this time. And Debbie was still in the picture. You guys remember Debbie?
Yeah.
Debbie was my girl from down the street. Just a Debbie from down the street.
Shout out Debbie from down the street.
Right. But Rosa was my ride or die chick. Like she didn't care. And we had this mentality of we just didn't care. Why? I think it was just because we felt like we wanted to be loved. I mean, and we didn't know that now. We didn't know that then.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But looking back, you realize like, okay, and mind you, I came from a good home. We had food on the table. We had clothes on our back. We had, I grew up in Whitefield. It wasn't the hood. It wasn't nothing like that. But my mom was a 9 to 5. And then even after the 9 to 5, she came home and she had 40 cats. Whew. No, that's not exaggeration. There was 3 rooms of cats in our house. So we had a 6-bedroom house. 3 of those rooms were dedicated to cats.
Crazy.
She was the cat lady.
Well, we need to. I feel like we need to dive into that, but I don't want to.
No.
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Trying to bring my friends over there. The house smelled but she was always busy. Yeah, it just she was always busy, like grooming, taking care of, doing those things. when she wasn't working. And so
Right.
it was me and my sister kind of fending for ourselves.
I get that.
Yeah.
There was no focus on you.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
gosh,
you
I can
could-
remember as many times as I want to be a cheerleader. I wanted to try out for something or do this, and I just wanted the support of my
Right.
parents, and I just didn't have it.
Yeah.
So
you
you
know,
sought it in the people
streets.
that you
Yeah.
became friends with. That
And that's
became
why I
your family.
always tell fathers and mothers, like, be careful because they will seek it out someplace else.
Yeah.
Of course.
Man, I feel that.
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what would you say was like the biggest?
Well, it happened. I did to answer that question for
Right.
you, to go back on, that pivotal moment as I think I was either 15 going on 16. I mean, somewhere within that time range. And there was a girl that we mutually knew, both myself and Rosa, who stole her mom's car. Damn. And she was like, let's go joyriding. And this girl was short. She was so tiny.
Right.
And she could
How old are you guys
barely-
at this time? Like
15.
15?
Yeah, 15,
Okay.
16.
Okay.
And I had stolen my dad's car multiple times. So I knew how
Multiple?
to drive. I knew how to drive.
McKenna,
See, this is
I
why I
promise you,
wanted to
McKenna.
dive in because I didn't know about this stuff with Leah.
And it's just funny because I think people look at me and I am very professional. I am very
Yes.
business wise. And when I say that I did a lot to shed that person, like, it's not that I forget who I
Right,
was.
right.
But I had to change my mentality. I had to change my way of life because where I was headed was not good.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, so I had stolen my dad's car multiple times. I remember my friend Vanessa, she was another troublemaker with me. I remember he had a Jimmy. It was a blue Jimmy.
Jimmy.
A Jimmy. Yeah.
What's a Jimmy?
I don't know what it is. It was a Jimmy, a GMC, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy's
Oh,
a GMC.
okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
Okay.
So he, the driveway, we had our regular driveway, and then we had like this loop, on the
Right.
side of the house. And so he would park on the loop. And I told my friend, come on, like, let's go joyriding. My dad's sleeping. Like, he would go home and he would take naps and whatever. And my dad would pass out.
Right.
And you can't see the car. So even if he looked out the window, you couldn't see it. Like, he wouldn't know if we were gone, or maybe
Yeah.
he just think we were around the streets, whatever. And so we tried to start it, and it was like, and I was like, okay, he's going to hear. So we got to push it down the street.
What?
And then once we get it going, we'll start it up and we'll be good. And so we
did the
pushed
whole
it.
push
And we
and
are
sneak.
tiny. We're teeny tiny, petite little
you pushing
youngsters.
this GMC?
And we lived on we lived on Row Lane in the field right here,
Right.
and it was a hill. You know what I mean? So we're going, and I'm there, and we're just pushing it, and we still can't get it started. And so I'm scared at this point because now the car is stuck. And it's in park, and I'm like, there's no way we're gonna get ran over if we try pushing this car.
Yeah.
And this gentleman, he drives up and he's like, hey, do you ladies need help? And I'm like, yeah, we need help. Like, and he's like, okay, where are you going? I was like, we just need to push this back. My house is right there. So he's like, no problem, I got you. And so he's pushing, and we get to the top where my house was. And I remember looking up, my dad was in the window looking at us. What? And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, pushing the car. And my excuse was so horrible. It was like, my friends are coming over. We needed to make room to park. Like, I was the only thing I could think of. I don't know. It was really dumb. But so I had stolen my dad's car multiple times. I knew how to drive. And so I told this girl, I said, let me drive, because she was so short she couldn't reach the pedal.
Oh my God.
And so she says, okay, you drive. So we drove, and we drove the Ave. We went to Nevada, and we were cruising and did not care. I mean, just having a good old time. I think we did a gas run that night. I think it was at one of the gas stations down there where we had pulled up and did a gas run, stole some gas.
Yeah.
And
So they probably implemented that rule because of y'all, where you can't pay. You have to pay first
Yes.
before you can pump your gas.
Oh, especially in that little hood part right there. Like, they don't, like, you got to go inside. There's no more pulling up. That's right. So we were done cruising, and we went back to Pikes Peak Park area, and we were on the street Monterey right there, and we were driving, and they thought that there was 5 of us in the car. So myself, and I can't remember who was in the front seat, to be honest with you, and there was 3 in the back. And they thought that the mom was behind us. They said, oh shit, like, the mom is here, like, she's in. So I gunned it. I gunned the car 80 miles an hour down Monterey. And if you're familiar with that street, it kind of goes smooth, whatever. But for whatever reason, like, I can drive, but I don't have experience, like, in
Yeah,
driving.
you're 15.
Yes. Look at the dad and Trent coming out.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And I took a corner. I took the corner
Too
about
fast.
80 miles an hour. And so we hit the curb. and the car flipped about 5 times.
What?
And we ended up on the hood inside of this park. Now, it was an open park area because there's a park there. And so the car was on the hood, and I just remember coming to, and I could smell fumes, and I could smell gas.
My
and
God.
This
I
is
was
crazy.
like, oh my God, like this car's going to blow up or something. That's what my immediate was like. So I was like, get the hell out of the car,
Right.
get the hell out of the car. And you know, we started kicking the windshields to get out. I pissed my pants. I'm not lying. Like I
Yeah, you probably thought you was gonna die.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I pissed my pants. Like that's how scared I was. You know, I was running, and so then they already had the helicopter.
Oh my!
in
The
air.
watchbird was on
Well,
y'all.
and it was because they were always in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like the Pikes Peak Park area was probably at that time the most hood out of Colorado
Right.
Springs. You
Yes.
know, so they had the helicopter out there, and I just remember like run,
Right,
run,
right.
like we're done. If they catch us, we're done.
We can't be with the vehicle. We got to get out of here.
Right. And so I remember Tanya and Rosa went one way, and me and whatever, I don't even know the girl's name now. I mean, just to be honest,
Right.
she went one way and the other girl walked by herself. And so, and we ran, and we knew so many people in that area that we started
Right.
knocking on the doors, 2:00 in the morning though. So I went to my friend, his name was Wedo. I went to his house, he didn't answer. Eugene was right down the street. I went to Eugene's house, he didn't answer. And I know he was up, but I heard his mom like, Eugene, who's knocking at the door? And I was
Yeah.
like, shit. So I had to go to my ex-boyfriend, which he was up the road.
Right.
And I went banging on his door, and luckily he was up. And he let us in, and he was like, what the hell's going on? I think he was probably up doing drugs with his
yeah.
buddy. And I was like, let us in. So he did. We ended up driving by there because he was curious to see what it was, like what happened. He
Right.
was like, and I just remember him looking back at me like,
How
what?
are you alive?
Like, yeah, like what is wrong with you? And so I got to spend the night there, and that was that. And I worked at McDonald's at that time. Me and Rosa both worked at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And so you have to imagine for the next 3 days, we are on edge. Like, oh my God, we're going to get caught. We're in
Yeah.
trouble. Somebody's going to talk and somebody's going to say something,
Right.
So we're just waiting. And during this time frame, I hadn't told my dad, my parents, anything. And I tell you,
Ooh.
like, we had a plan of action. Like we had what happens this, like, and we're
Right.
thinking about fingertips or whatever. The
Fingerprints.
fingerprint.
Yes.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
prints. We were just so dumb and naive. And I said, that's the only way they're going to be able to get us is
Yeah.
just by, this and that, whatever. And I don't think I was even in the system at that time. I don't think I was yet.
Right.
And so we had an extravagant story. And I remember going to my aunt's house because my aunt was one who I confided in a lot. And I told her what happened.
Yeah.
And she says, I think you need to tell your dad. And I was like, I don't want to tell him. And she's like, no, I really think that you need to tell your dad. And so I said, okay, arrange a meeting where I can meet with my dad.
I need somebody. I need a third party in there.
Yes. And so,
Did your parents whoop you? Did you get whoopings?
No, my last whooping was at 13. And I told my dad, I said, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
And that was when he let go, was when he came home and he spanked, because I had skipped school with Renessa, and we went to Walmart. We were stealing, and we was like getting all kinds of goodies.
Right.
And we got caught. Her mom pulled up on us and was like, Leah, your dad is looking for you. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, here we go. You know what I mean? So I had to walk home like this shame. And then I get home, my sister's like, you're in trouble. Your dad's gonna, spank you. And I was like, I'm too old for spankings. I was 13.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm too old for spankings. I can't get spankings. And she was like, well, he's going to spank you. And I was like, well, I'm not going to cry. And she was
Right.
like, yeah, we'll see. You know what I mean? And oh God, he whooped me. And I remember he whooped me like 13 times. Like he got the belt and
Yeah.
hit me and hit me and hit me. And I didn't cry.
Yeah.
And then my mom later told me that he walked out and was like, well, that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
And I was holding my stance. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's who I was. I was like, no, I'm going to show you.
Right.
But no, so back to that, I remember sitting down with my dad. So the meeting was arranged. We sat down at the table, and I was scared to tell him.
Well,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But I also knew that I needed to tell him because,
The truth will set you free.
yeah, and
Well,
I
it's
believe
probably
it did.
eating you alive at that point. Like,
Well, plus we didn't know if we were going to get caught still.
Right.
We had no idea, and I'm like, better to tell him now.
Then when
Right.
kind of setting him up better than the cops
Right.
coming in
up to
first.
the house, yes.
questioning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we sat down, and I said, I got to tell you something, Dad. And he says, okay. And I said, but I'm scared to tell you. And he was like, why are you scared to tell me? Just tell me, Leah. Like, what's
Right.
going on? And I said, but I'm scared. And he said, just tell me.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me. He goes, what happened? You stabbed somebody?
Your eyes were probably like, well,
Why the first thing my
That
dad
would've been my
asked
first
me
thing,
was,
too.
did I stab somebody?
That'd have been my first thing too. What you explained to me, and maybe that's where
parents always jump to the worst. I told
right.
you when I started that last relationship, and I was living.
that is true.
Me and my ex at the time were staying in the Econo Lodge, and downtown, and my mom thought I was hooking out of the Econo Lodge. I said, I'm not hooked on drugs. It's not. You think I'm hooking now? Selling my body out of the Econo Lodge. Like, parents always go all the way left.
I do.
That even surprised the heck out of me. Was that like, even then,
I could do something like that,
like,
and it
really?
would, I
always go to the worst. That way I can get an immediate no. Well, then, okay.
So it can get better from here.
Right.
Okay.
Was it a sense of relief when he said that, though?
No.
No.
I was like, wow.
Like,
Like,
I could stab somebody, and this is how the
and then he
conversation's
asked me,
going to
so
go.
the second question when I said no, and he
Are
was
you
like, you got
pregnant?
raped.
Oh, yeah.
He thought I got raped.
Ooh.
And I said, no.
Yeah.
And he said, Lea, what is it? And I spilled it. And I just said, look, like, we got into a car accident. I was driving. It was a stolen car. You know, all of us survived.
Right.
And my dad, it was the first time I saw my dad cry. First time. And
Was he angry? Like anger and cry, or like scared for you?
I think both.
Yeah.
I think at this point he already knew, like, we had already come to with all of these little incidences in between. I had run away.
Right.
That, you know, he felt hopeless. Like, he felt like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
And he just cried and he said, I believe that the only reason why that you're alive today is because of my prayers. Like, that's it. That's the only reason why you've survived is because of my prayers for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, you know, and all I remember is that he was pretty much like, we'll deal with it.
Right.
We'll figure it out. And
whatever happens, we'll deal with it together.
he could have said, we're going to turn you in. Like, we need to go to the cops.
Yeah.
McKenna, I will turn you in, McKenna.
We're going right to the police department. Tell them what you did.
Throw her under the jail, judge.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some parents like that. My mom is like that. There is no nonsense.
You know, well, the one time when Nando and I got in jail, I don't know if you remember my mom.
I remember you
saying
yep.
that she was like, no, like, I'm going to leave her in there. Like, she wanted to leave me in jail. My uncle was like, don't do that. Like, don't leave her there, you know?
Yeah.
So, and actually, I'm probably one of those parents too. Like, tough love. Like, no, you're going to pay the consequences.
Yeah.
You're going to pay the consequences of, you know, and so I think I'm a little bit tougher even. But I also have to say that that's probably what I needed. I needed my dad to whoop my ass.
Right.
I probably needed him to scare me more because he was testing me and I was testing him and I won.
Well, and you were a daddy's girl too.
Yes.
So what was that emotion like, constantly like feeling like you're not amounting to what he wants for you or who he is for you? As I feel like a lot of kids struggle with that, and that trickles into other mess when you get older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My
Like,
dad wanted me to marry a white Air Force Academy cadet, which is so funny because my mom and my dad's story was my grandparents wanted her to marry an Air Force cadet. And, you know, they were like, no, you guys don't mix. Like, you know, he's Mexican, you're white. Like, this doesn't happen. She's from the South, like mid-South, like deep South and Georgia. And you don't do those things. And so they ran away from that. So the fact that my dad wanted me to be with somebody like that it was, you know, I was never attracted to white men.
right.
I want my daughter to marry a nice, safe white boy too.
Me neither.
Named Colton.
It's just
Named Colton.
No offense, Chris, but
Yeah.
it's got to be the right type of flavor for me.
Safe white boy.
It was. It had to be like, I think because one thing about me that I learned as well was I grew up around all of my dad's families.
Right.
So all of the Mexican, the Latinos, like that's what I grew up with.
You identified with that more.
100%. And I was always the outcast. They called me Weta.
Right.
So to my grandpa and my aunts, they were like, hey Weta, you know, because I was the whitest of the family.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, I hated that I was different from them and that they were more brown than me and they had darker hair and darker skin. And I just remember identifying so much with the Latin community and my family from this side was that my cousin Lorenzo, he was like my brother, really. He, for 1 year for Christmas, we used to draw names and he picked my name and he said, Mija, what do you want? And I was like, I want a jacket that says 100% Chicana. And he was like, okay, like, I got you. Like, you know what I mean? Yes. And it was one of those with the raincoats, you know, that the cholas used to wear with the dickies. And
I got your wet ass right here.
Yes. So he did. And I sported that so proud. And I remember girls try to check me.
Yeah.
They try to check me at Harrison. Like, what, you ain't, like, you're not. And I was like, my dad's brighter. He's browner than you. Like, don't come for me.
Don't come for me.
I will fight. Right.
Lea wanted the smoke.
Anybody can get that work. That's funny.
So that was the moment. That was
Yeah.
the moment that, now don't say that I got out of trouble from then.
Right.
But that was the moment that was really like, whoa.
Oh, shit, I'm doing-
I'm doing a lot.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot.
Yeah. That's, oof. I did not know that about you at all.
So wait, what happened with the whole car situation?
Right,
Did the
whatever.
cops find out?
Nothing.
Oh,
That's scary.
Yeah, never. Nobody got hurt. Nobody had any major injuries.
Right.
Everybody walked away with scratches and
Yeah,
sore
y'all,
necks and
yeah,
stuff
you
like that.
lucky.
blessing.
And we
That's
weren't
a
wearing
blessing.
seatbelts. None of us. Not one of us was wearing seatbelts. And, you know, so I think I saw the power of God in my life way later. And it was because the word says that when somebody prays for you, like they've got you covered.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
He
It
was
says the
praying
prayer
over
of
you.
a righteous man is like, it goes above and beyond what you can even think about. And I believe that my dad, his prayers were
Yeah.
sufficient for me in that time, that he was covering me.
Yeah.
Big time.
Absolutely.
my biggest takeaway from that story as a father
Yeah.
perspective just tells me, all you dads out there, if you guys have teenage daughters, you can't go to sleep. My daughter comes tomorrow. She'll be here for 7 days. I won't be sleeping for 7 days. Because when you go to sleep,
They're going to steal
they go
your car.
sneak out and steal your car. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Even my biggest story of feeling like I did like the worst thing possible is nowhere near close to that. Like we used to get caught drinking
Yeah.
in drugs, but nothing to that extent.
I had
That
played around
is-
with like multiple amount of drugs already.
Right.
When I got, so the boyfriend that I had before
Yeah.
Nando, I mean, we were on meth.
Really.
So I used to be on meth, and I remember my dad seeing me one time. I have a picture of me like at my skinniest, and I remember seeing my dad because I was living with him at that time too.
Yeah.
I had moved out and was living with a boyfriend, and I went to go see my dad at his work, and he said, "Babe, are they feeding you?" Like that was his question to me, like,
yeah.
"Are they feeding you?"
Yeah.
And you know, he was joking, but
Yeah.
he was also like, "Dang, you're so
Concerned.
skinny." You know what I mean? And so I had toyed around with a lot of different drugs
Yeah.
already. You know, just.
At what age would you say you started that?
Well, I picked up my dad's I think they were called LMLs or LMJ cigarettes. I mean, when I was really young at 12, I remember he had walked out of the house and he dropped some, and I'm like, hey, like it was
Yeah.
probably Veronica
Yeah.
or Kim. I was like, you guys want to smoke? Like, you guys want to try this? You know? But you know who was my influence on me was my cousin. So the aunt that I was
Right.
telling you about, her daughter Doreen, she was my first for everything. My tattoo,
Right.
drinking, smoking weed, kissing a boy, like
Right.
any of my first fight. Like
That
she was the
was-
person that I went and I would get my advice from, like, hey, how do I deal
Right.
with this? You know what I
Right.
mean? But I think some of that also trickled off into my bossiness with my friends. And, you know, okay, well, I already done that. I already
Right,
did this.
right,
You know
right.
what I mean? So, I mean, that started, you know, the smoking as
You
much
felt
as
like smoking cigarettes was an introduction to drugs for you?
I do.
Really?
I do. As many people will say that it's not, or that, you know, these are not I
Right.
think it is. I do. I think
If
that
you've
you
got an
try one
addictive-
thing and then you're like, okay, well, that, you know, that wasn't so bad. Let me try this.
Right.
And then that wasn't so bad. I'm lucky that I never got into like any type of like needles or anything like that. I never did
Right.
anything like that. Thank God that I
Right.
didn't get that far. Meth was
Right.
well, I don't know if it was the worst that I did, but like
Right.
it was that was the one that could have been the most addicting
Yes.
and the hardest to get away from.
Yes.
And I ended up just like, okay, I'm done. You know, I'm
You
done.
just stopped cold
Just
turkey.
stopped. Like people will say, well, how did you quit? I was like, I'm done. I was done. I seen that he wasn't going anywhere with his life.
Right.
I definitely wasn't
Yeah.
going anywhere with my life, you know, and what am I going to do? Sit here in the bathroom
And keep
all day
doing
long
this?
and
Right,
like, that's what I'm
yeah.
going to do.
Right?
You know, and
But
then clean the
that's
house
so-
and draw.
Right.
How?
That's what you do.
But
How-
that's super important that you can be honest about that and show the background of you made the choice to stop that, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt the same way. Like I was introduced to it by my stepsister, and I actually tell people all the time that I'm glad I experienced that drug use at such an early age,
Yeah.
because I have an addictive personality. Regardless, I don't know if I would be able to shake something like that at this age.
Oh yeah.
That's a hard
Yeah.
that's a hard
and
thing to deal with.
that drug is the killer drug. I mean, it's definitely one of the
Yeah.
killer drugs, you know?
Yeah, I used to work for this company. Actually, it's back. I don't want to say their name because their son. It was Asphalt. This was like my senior year after I graduated. Before I joined the Air Force that summer, but I ended up living with him too before I joined. But he was like addicted to meth, and then he had stopped for a while.
Right.
And he, got his life together, had a family, but he lapsed. And matter of fact, I wouldn't say over the summer, his daughter, who was like 7 at the time, me living there, she's a young 20 something. She lives in Denver. She came to one of my stand up mics, and I kind of asked her about her dad, and he's like, "Oh no, he's on meth right now." Like it was horrible. So that drug, it can pull you back in. So
and usually from that drug is where you do go deeper. Like so right after that one,
because you're chasing the high.
Go deeper into these other things. So I never messed around with LSD unless it was laced with maybe a joint. I think I tried one that may have been like some my cousin gave to me. I remember my legs going numb and we were cracking up, and I'm like, what is in this?
We are not promoting drug use, guys.
No, absolutely not. So, here's the thing about my kids is that they don't know. This is why this is such a crazy thing, is that they don't know this background about me. I've never made it known, and I never was like proud of it to be able to say like, oh, this and this, that. All I would tell my kids is I'm not naive, as you think I am. Like, and you are soft. Way softer than I was at your age. Like, so I got you. Right. Like, and I'm watching you. So and they just think that I'm irrelevant. Like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, you have no idea.
Right.
You have no idea. But I never wanted it to become an excuse for them to say, well, you did it.
Right.
You tried it. Like, I want to do this. I never wanted that. Right. So I was very careful, and bits and pieces got out, here and there. Right. And I'm sure this is going to be the most that's gotten out since.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys. But I think there's, like we were talking the other night after your conversation with Dana, like I feel like those in between stories, one, make you who you are, but it also is a testimony and can be a testimony for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I used to be embarrassed to talk about my drug use. You know what I mean? It's not something that you want to just outwardly tell people about, but to hear that a successful businesswoman like yourself has gone through something like that and to see you on the other side is super important.
And a lot more people deal with drug use more than I think people want to actually like accept.
Absolutely.
Because, even, living in Seattle away from my family, and I'm watching movies about like addictions or any kind of thing, like, oh, not my family. And then I move back here, and then I find out that's absolutely not the case.
Not at all.
Colorado is known for it too. Like
meth is big in Colorado. It's a big thing, and it's sad because a lot of them, for the most part, seem like they're vets. Like they have some mental health stuff going on. Yeah. So
fentanyl's another one. Stuff is laced with fentanyl nowadays, and that stuff is dangerous.
I went to a rave, and
killed more people than COVID.
I didn't do this on purpose by no means, but I went to a rave and I was smoking a cigarette, and I got it from somebody, and I didn't realize it. It was dipped in embalming fluid.
Oh my.
That was my moment. Like I was like, I don't ever want to be this high ever again.
Wow.
Ever. Like that was just a whole different type of vibe. That was it for me. I was like, yeah, this isn't good. And I was 16 at the time. And my dad bought me my ticket to the rave and gave me money for drugs. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is. That's I think, when I say things back, and that's what Dana and I talked about afterwards, is when you hear your story back and when you start to listen, you're like, whoa, like, dang, there's a lot. That was, my life. I probably should have been dead a few times. There definitely should have been those times where I took it a little bit too far.
Right.
Testing
the limit.
Testing.
Pushing.
It was testing. And yet when I do look back I do have to say that I know that it was the prayers. Yeah. I know that that's what it is. And that's why I'm so, like, for my kids, I'm always like, God, just protect them. Angels be with them, like, guard them, be around the four posts of this house. Like, when they go to and from, like, be with them. You know what I mean? Like, just always trying to cover them as well. So,
have you ever dealt with a situation where one of the boys, like, you've caught him up in something?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And you see right through it, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. And Nando is the naive one. So Nando is more hood than me. Like, and this Nando, he got shot at the age of 13. Like, so his cousin took 3 bullets for him in the streets of Cali.
He talked to me about that.
And he's traumatized in the sense that, like, when he can't watch scary movies, and it's not because of the scariness, it's because it triggers something in him, some type of PTSD where he thinks he's getting killed.
Right.
And so his parents divorced, 13, mom was cheating on the dad was cheating on the mom, aunts and uncles. Like, this is this is the environment that he grew up in. And when I went back to the streets with him, you know, to his hood, like I was like, this is hood. Like this is scary.
This is not Whitefield.
This is not Whitefield. This is not Pikes Peak Park. Like this is hood. Like there are hookers on the corner.
Right.
One lady came to the door with some meat and a purse and was like $5
trying to sell it.
Like, you know,
She
It
needs to
sounded
get
like
that
he
fixed.
lived in a scary movie. That's
he
why you don't
did.
like him.
No, and he did. And so, but what's so funny about that is Nando's, and maybe it's either naive or Nando's just like, oh, leave him alone.
Doesn't want to see. Like,
Do you know what I
those
mean?
are
And
my
I'm like,
boys.
dude, yeah, that's retarded. Like, you're retarded if you don't think this is happening. That's
Right.
dumb.
Right.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know a lot about his story, but I'm sure he has this, like, maybe a little more sympathy for, like, his boys, because I'm sure people were a lot harder and, you know what I mean,
Very
to him.
true.
So
Yeah.
maybe he's just like,
No, he's hard. He's hard. His dad was mean to him. His
Yeah.
dad would beat the brakes off of him.
Really?
And so I see some of that pour out into the boys where he's angry. You can see that there's some angry in him. And I'm like, I'm the one when it comes to like discipline where, you know, I believe in spankings. I believe in spankings all day. I don't care if somebody wants to call somebody, like, go ahead, call them. I bet you the cops will show up to my door and be like, yeah,
Right.
you need to whoop their ass.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But
Everybody has different techniques on how they.
everybody has different techniques.
Yes.
But as they got older and older, you know, and just some of the things that I would tell them, like, calm down, like you pick and choose your
Right.
battles. The same thing that I tell people for marriage, pick and
Right.
choose your battles.
Right.
Not everything is a fight,
Yes.
and really determine what it is that you want to like be upset about.
Right.
You know, and so I am more of the like, oh, for that portion, but the portion of them trying to like get by.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's not going on. And so like, you're asking about Joey. I remember he was probably 15 or 16. We were at the other house, and I mean, Joey was a good kid. He's still a good kid. He really is.
Is that
You
your
know?
oldest?
Yeah. And so
Okay.
young man, you know, but
Yeah.
you ain't a man until you like you out on your own and like paying your own bills, and you like that when you're supporting
He
yourself.
will
That's when I
always
will
be a
say like
kid.
this is a man. Like he's
yeah.
grown into a man, and you know he has done things and he's doing things, but like there's still like I tell people, don't enable him.
Yeah.
Like don't. The worst thing you could do for somebody is enable them. Like push them.
Yes.
Push them to do more than what they think that
Yes.
they can do. And some people don't like that. They get very uncomfortable, and it's like, no, but I see this in you, you know?
Well, but understanding your background, I mean, you were already living on your own and kind of fending for yourself at a very young age. So
Yeah.
you didn't have you had a choice,
Right.
but you.
And
This isn't new to you, basically,
Right.
when you see your kids go through something like that. Like, I'm not new to this.
Yes.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, I was working at a very young age, and my dad would give anybody the opportunity because he was a chef at First Presbyterian Church, the one that's right off of Bijou in Nevada area.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
And so he was the head chef there. You know, he would do all the corporate. You know what
Yeah.
we were talking about with
Yep.
that other chef,
Yep.
like for these people when they had their meetings
For
or
like
whatever.
business. It was more of like a business.
Yeah, so there was a church,
Right.
you know what I mean, get together Wednesdays, GTW Wednesdays was what it was called or whatever. But like if I needed a job or I needed something for, you know, money, he'd be like, well, come and work,
Yeah.
you know? So you could be a prep cook, you could be line cook, you could dishwash, you could do prepping the food, you know, you could be setting the
Right.
tables. There's things that he would always have. And he would hire anybody. He'd have my friends, anybody.
Yeah.
Like, we always had a job. That's what my dad was, though, you know?
But that's good.
Yeah, so he was always giving somebody the opportunity. But I feel like with like Joey, him not knowing this, like, you know, and like I said, he is a good kid. He was a good kid there.
Yeah.
I cannot complain about any one of my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, like they have no idea like what I went through, what I was involved in. And it's probably for a good reason,
Yeah.
you know? And we did cater to them a little bit differently than my parents. I made sure to kind of change the tone.
Right.
Okay, I need to be present, because what I realized, and you and I had a conversation like this,
Yeah.
is that you start to realize that the person that you are resentful of, you become like you're like, dang, I am like my mom.
Yuck.
Yeah. You know what I
mean?
Oh, that's such a yucky feeling.
And
Ugh.
I love my mom. I love my mom. Like she's the most beautiful, kindest, sweetest soul and whatnot. But the characteristic that I took from her was one that I resented, was that she would do her own thing.
Yeah.
And she was content in that. She's still content in that.
Yeah.
And I find myself that same way, that I can be in this office for hours upon hours upon hours and be unemotionally available for my kids. And I'm like, they're going to seek it out someplace
Somewhere
else,
else, yeah.
you know, or they're going to look for an unemotional woman because that's what they know. And so I had to make myself, you know, and definitely not perfect at it, but I had to make myself more present and more available and more, you know, let's take a vacation. Let me slow down. Let me talk to you. Let's, you know, talk about life, whatever. So, yeah, Joey, I mean, I slapped his face. He was making out with a girl inside my house, and I slapped his face in front of her, you know, and told him, don't ever disrespect my house like that again. He was cussing. He was cussing one time. You know, we don't. Nando and I, we don't cuss.
You guys really don't.
We really don't. Like and it's just something that, like, as very young, I felt like I used to cuss a lot when I was, you know, in my teenage years, whatever. As I got older, I was like, you know, it sounds so ugly to me. I was like, it feels like it has no class. Like there's no, like, if you have to use this, and you know, there's some people that'll say just the opposite. They love to cuss because it makes them feel like they can get out so many emotions and whatever. And that's good. That's good for them. For me, I was like, it doesn't feel like your vocabulary is that big that you can't express yourself with the emotions of, like, without having to cuss.
Absolutely.
And so I started listening to the way that I spoke, and I was like, man, this does not sound cute. Like, that's just not, like, I'm more intelligent than that. I'm more, you know. And so we really made it a point to not speak like that in front of the kids, that they didn't hear it. So I was upstairs. My room was right on top of Joey's, and he had some, you know, young kids over at the house, and they were rapping. You know, Joey think he a rapper. Like, I'm like, dude, you're not a rapper. Like, I will not be one of those moms that are like, you're good. Like, go out there and do that. No. Like, no, you suck. Like, stop right now. Like, I'm going to tell you the truth.
So if he was good, you'd have encouraged him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Okay. I'm like, dude, like, you're good. Like, that's you. We need to push this. You know?
Joey, I want to, if you still think you can rap, let me hear it, and then
You let him know?
I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah. He'll let you know if your comedy's good, too.
Bet.
So he was upstairs. They had the music playing, and I could hear him rapping. Like, they were freestyling, whatever. And I heard him. You shush. I already know where you're going. So they were freestyling, and I could hear him, like, cussing, like, a little bit. And I was like, I know he's not talking like that in this house. Like, I cannot believe he's speaking like that. Now those over here, you know, he's with his friend. Shut up. Like, it's no big deal. Like, just let it alone. I was like, no, I'm not letting it alone.
Right.
So I told him, I said, you want to go spy on them? Like, let's go downstairs. Let's go downstairs and listen to them. So we both go downstairs, and we're listening by the door. And I was appalled.
Really?
I was appalled, because not only was he, like, saying cuss words, he was talking about women.
Ooh.
And what he would and what he wouldn't do.
And what was Nando doing?
Nando was like, let's go upstairs. That was Nando. Let's go. Come on. Leave him alone. Let's go back upstairs. And I was hot.
You were like, what we're not going to do.
No, I was like, no, Like, I'm staying right here. And he's like, well, I'm going upstairs. And I was like, go ahead, go upstairs.
Bye.
And so he's in there cussing, like, you know, this woman, that, and I did this, and blah, blah. So I open up the door, and I'm like this. Like this.
Oh, man.
Like this. And then he turns around. He's like, hey, Mom. I'm like, hey, what's up? Bam. Slapped the shit out of him so hard he pissed his pants.
Really?
Then I hit him again from the other side. And his friends were on the bed like, what's going on? Like, you know, and they thought that was going to come for them too. And I just told them, well, I never taught you to speak like that. Like, and how would you like if somebody spoke to me that way? Right. You know, if somebody told me that and they were talking to me, would you like that? Like, is that how you want somebody, you know, a man to speak to a woman? Like, you don't do that. You know what I mean? And
rap career over. After that, it was a wrap. You can't go back to the mic after that. And rapping all hard. Your mom just got to slapping you for your friend.
Punked you.
Look, like,
punked him.
I never meant to hit him that hard where he would. I mean, because you imagine how embarrassing that is. Like, I mean,
well, of course.
a 15-year-old kid like piss your pants in front of your friends.
I mean. You got your point across.
But he never did it again.
Hey, for legality reasons and my family court history, I have to I don't condone in hitting your kids. This is for the judge in the Washington State courts. I'm just listening, Judge. I don't condone that. Okay, back in.
Well, I'm sorry. We had whoopings. Whoopings were regular. Like, we had a paddle that was hung up in our kitchen, like above the dining room table. Yep. Like, any issue was going on. And the paddle had holes in it, so it made noise. Yeah. I was... whoopings
we got our pants pulled down. I mean, that's embarrassing in itself. We would get our pants pulled down, and, like, we had, you know... So not only was it a leather belt, like, my mom had a buckle. Like, she had beads. Like, you know...
My dad was more of the disciplinary person. My mom grew up in a really tumultuous relationship. My grandfather... the racist one. He used to beat them, like, severely. He would bring home boards from work, wires, like, you name it. He used to whoop my aunt's ass, and her mom never did anything. You know what I mean? But that was that was normal for them. You know what I mean? So my mom disciplined, but after she did, like if she put her hands on us, she would always come and apologize afterwards. Like there was always an underlining guilt behind it. You know what I mean?
Because it was both. My dad, I think, was the one that, like, when he came home, he would grab me by my arm and like this and hold it up, and like, you know, he would have a little talk. So he didn't hit us out of anger.
Right.
And I think that was pretty profound, is he would tell us why we were in trouble and why we were getting spanked. It wasn't just be like, he beat our ass. Right. My mom was the opposite. Really? Like when my mom got heated, it was over. It was mommy dearest time. Like mommy dearest, throw things. Like things would go flying. Right. I remember my sister tells me all the time. I have no recollection of it, but she was so upset with my sister that she ended up throwing a chair and it hit me.
You just blocked it out.
I have no idea. I mean, I was probably like 4 years old. Yeah. And she told me, she's like, well, I was aiming it for your sister and it hit you. You know, and I was like, damn, like
you're no nonsense. Yes. You don't care.
And that rage and that anger, I learned a little bit of that, you know, and there's points with these kids that I blacked out and I had lost it. Like I lost it, and that's my way of losing it. It's like, that's when I see red, it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
Done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exit the room.
There's some levels everybody has where you just get to this point and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Well, and I can bet that as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I mean, you probably
you get
go
tested.
through those moments.
You get emotionally tested with your children because there's this sense of we're providers and we've done all these things for our children. And then when we get met with a moment where we feel like we're being disrespected, that's when it can get like, whoa, like, yeah, that part. Like how you felt when you were hearing your son rapping and saying all this stuff. You felt disrespected in this moment of, really, Joey? All this I've done and done for you and taught you, and then this is how you kind of pay it back. Yeah. But I'll say this, because, you know, I was beaten too, whooped, you know, probably, you know, in our generation.
Yeah, we met your mama.
Your mama looks like she put you down.
Yes, she does. She looks old school.
She probably
like,
she busted.
Your ass.
She broke a mason jar over my head one time.
My God.
Because I wasn't. She was at me, and I mean, I was.
You weren't acknowledging her.
I was a freshman. About a freshman, sophomore in high school, and I was just like, go ahead, get it off. Like that, and then bam,
let me
over my head.
Turn your head.
You know, but she could have killed me. Okay, you know.
Well, she brought you into this world, so she's allowed to take you out.
But I was gonna. True. No, not true, Mom. You don't. But I love you, Mom. But we, you know, I feel like in this generation, like you said, like your kids, they're softer than you. They're not as hard or tough as we were.
Isn't that weird? And you think that it was going to get worse and worse and worse. But I think it's that shift. I think you also realize, at least for myself, and I'm not speaking on your behalf, but I feel like you take bits and pieces of what you learn or what you went through or what you know, and then you cater in the sense that you think is
trying to break that generational curse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And you gotta be careful nowadays too, because you could be hitting one kid and then the other kid is filming you, and now next thing you know, got posted.
Could you imagine the internet or social media being around? Could you imagine like having access like that, like my age?
I would.
That stuff's forever.
I would have set my parents up. If we had social media, I'd have set my mama up. Oh yeah, next time she's gonna hit me.
We would tell them. We'd be like, we're calling social services or whatever.
I used to stomp through the house like when I would get in trouble. And I would push it to where I'd make her laugh, but I was still in trouble. But I would march around the house, child abuse, and I would bang on the wall. And then me and my brother would start doing it all at the same time.
Ay. Yeah, my dad would probably beat me then too.
Oh no.
I remember my dad slapped the shit out of me. My sister had a job, and she was doing. My sister she did her dirt too.
Yeah.
My sister was very manipulative, and she was grinding me in a different way. Like she was manipulative, and she knew
how to twist.
She knew how to like get through stuff and not get caught. Like I got caught for everything for the most part. But she knew different ways, and but we were not close. You know, we weren't. But every once in a while, she would throw out a gesture to me, or she'd be nice or whatever. And this gesture was, "Hey, look, like you want to come and shop? Like there's this tent outside. You can come get it, whatever you want." And I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna get a cart. I'll be right there, like, you know. And so we went and got all kinds of stuff. And I'm not gonna say which corporation or anything like that, but so we went and we got all kinds of stuff. And I remember there was a game. I can't even tell you what game it was, but there was some kind of game that I think she asked me to get for her. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I got you. I'll get it, you know. And then I ended up taking it or giving it to my friend Debbie. I can't remember if I let her borrow it, if I gave it to her. I don't remember. All I know is that my sister had the audacity, and my sister had the audacity to tell my dad that I took this game.
She told on you.
After she like let us go steal all this stuff, but she had like the audacity to go tell him like, hey, she has this game, whatever, she won't give it back. And it wasn't because I wasn't going to give it back. It was just I didn't have it in my possession right then.
Right.
And so he knew where it was at, and he knew who had it before he even asked me, but he tested me.
Ooh,
he was laying down. My dad was a big dude, 6'2", you know, he was probably 300 pounds, maybe 300 plus pounds, you know, and when he took his nap, that was it. Like he took his nap, you know, so he's laying down, and he calls me to the room, and I'm standing in the hallway of our house, and he's like, where's that game that your sister's talking about? And I was like,
what game?
Yeah, no, I was like, maybe I even took it back. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe I took it back and got money for it or something like that. That's probably what happened. And then I just told her it was at Debbie's.
So much dirt, you just don't.
You don't, and then you can't keep your life straight. Look, so
it gets hard.
I did say so. It's something like that where he knew where it was at. He knew what had already been done, and I lied to him. And he shot up out of that bed so fast. Like I never saw my dad move that fast. Never. And his hand was huge. So my hands are like, you know, I'm 5'9", you know what I mean? I'm tall and take after his side, but his hands were double the size as mine, like, and big fat fingers.
Right.
And he hit, bam, slapped me. My head hit the wall, and I'm like, you know, crying. And I just, you know, after that, I was like, well, okay, don't ever lie to Dad's face again. Like, don't ever, you know, but my dad loved me. I was a daddy's girl, and it stayed that way, you know, as much as possible. And he, during the last part of his life, he kept throwing out things like, you know, I just want you to be happy. And he was very tired. You could see it in his health. He was tired, and he was and I kept telling him, Dad, you're so young. Like, stop talking like that. You're just so young. Like, don't. And he was like, no, babe, I'm tired. Like, you don't understand. I'm tired. My body's tired. And I'm like, no, you're young. You know?
Right. What are you talking about? But I mean, as kids, you look at your parents like that. Like they're supposed to be invincible.
Yes. I mean, gosh, I remember thinking when I think he actually did pick up a car one time, like he maybe just like lifted it like to show us. And I was like, my dad can lift cars. Like he's the you know, he's the strongest man ever. And, but you do. I pushed so much, and unfortunately, my dad got the brunt end of that because Dad was there. He was there. You know, he was the one that took us fishing. He was the one that took us go buy firecrackers. He's the one that took us camping. He's the one that, you know, I remember him sitting outside with the hose, and he would spray us. You know, he'd sit in his chair, and he had his black pants all rolled up past his knees and his white T-shirt on.
He's an everyday dad.
Yes. You know, as much as he could be, because he worked too. He was the main provider, even though my mom worked. He was the main provider. So when he passed, my mom had to make a decision. Right. They had just refinanced their house. They didn't make the best credit decisions. Right. They had, you know, the full amount owed on the house. My mom was making very minimal income with her job working at a church. And so it was like, okay, well, I got to go. Like, and both of her parents were still, you know, they're still living in Georgia, and they're very wealthy. They come from old money, and they were smart about their money.
Right. I remember you talking to me a little bit about them. Yeah.
Investing and they were very smart people about their money. And so it wasn't 1 year after my dad had passed away that my mom was like, I'm leaving. You know, we're putting the house up. She barely walked away with anything from that sale. Like, and she was just happy to be able to walk away with her name, and not get it ruined. But my dog, I had my dog Raja. I was living with Nando at that time. Couldn't take Raja with me. That's a chow.
That's a big dog.
Yeah. So they won't let you have him. So had to sell or, you know, give away my dog and the house that I grew up in since I was 5 years old. And then my mom leaves, my dad's gone, you know what I mean? And
that's
I'm like,
a lot of ripping.
It's like your life.
The whole thing. It was like, and it was like everybody that I counted on.
Yep. You
know what I mean? Like, it was like, okay, they're gone like this. And now I had to depend on Nando.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, I had to trust 100% fully, and also trust the relationship, you know, and that's a part of that deep hurt, because he saw me through all of that stuff before we got, you know, there.
Right. When you go through a death with a significant other, I think that changes the dynamic of the relationship.
It does. I mean, you do see how much they are, you know what I mean? And anybody can be there for anybody. You know what I mean? Like you can show up and be there. But I mean, he was there in a way where it just, like, I sat for 3 days. I probably didn't wash my ass. You know what I mean? Like, didn't wash my hair, nothing, just sat, because you're going through this dream. Yes. Like, it's just like, this is not real. Like, your whole life has changed just like this. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's done. Like, and you don't get a choice. Like, that's it.
And it's an everyday thing.
Yes. You don't wake up. No. Like, it does. You're like, you wish you wake up, but you don't. And this is life now, you know? And So I think in that, what I realize now is the comfort of my dad and knowing that support system was gone and seeing everything being taken away from my mom. I said, I'm never, ever going to put myself in that kind of position. Yeah. Like I will never be in a position where I have to rely on somebody or that somebody can take something away from me like that.
Right.
You know, and I needed to get my life together. Yeah. So I was like, okay, time to kick it in full force at that particular point.
I bet 10-1 your daddy was working in that too.
I'm sure. I mean, I think that's the one question that you always ask is like, are you proud?
Yeah. Oh, I love it though. Yeah. I love that. I see he's supposed to. That's your dad. You know what I mean? Damn it. I made it almost all the way through. Almost.
You know, I think, I think that is the one question that I ask is, you know, Dad, are you proud?
Yeah.
And I hope he is, you know, because at 19, I was 19 at the time. I hadn't done shit with my life. I was working at Walmart. I was in the pet department at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like I had an apartment. So we're like, woo, we got an apartment. Right. Like this is big time. You know, we were happy that they didn't help. My dad did not like the fact that I moved out with Nando. He did not like that.
He didn't support it.
Oh no, he didn't talk to me.
Really?
And,
because how old were you when you did that?
Well, I moved out when I was 15.
Yeah. She's been living on her own.
But I moved out with a cousin. So my cousins, those same cousins.
You were still paying rent?
Yeah, no,
I couldn't imagine being
like
responsible.
$150 a month that I had to pay.
At that age?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But it's because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I didn't want anybody to tell me anything else. This is what I want to do. Yeah. And so, like, I told Nando very early on, like, my daddy going to hold me down. You're not going to be able to hold me down. Yeah. Don't try to cut my wings. Right. Like, it's just not going to work for you. You know, this is who I am. And as long as you can, like, dance with me with that, then we're good. Yeah. You know? And I'm still to that day where it's not, I mean, I've learned compromise and I've learned that you do dance and that you have to give and pull. But I think in that, like that the core of who I am, and I do attribute so much of the childhood and so much of my mom and the independent parts and then the street part that I took myself to, mind you, that it wasn't like, oh, this is how I grew up. This was the street life. No, I chose, like, it was so retarded. I chose to be in that life. Yeah. You know, just to be down? Like, just to be like, for what? Yeah. You know? And really,
you were still seeking something.
It was just seeking that family dynamic. Yeah. It was that I wanted to feel something bigger. I wanted to feel loved. And those people didn't love me. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't. Those people did not love me. Like, I was the girl, like, okay, yeah, you're still cool. We're still down. You know what I mean? If there was a girl that needed to be taken care of, maybe I'll fight, whatever. But, like, that was it. There was no beyond that. And I do talk to a few of them that they're still on my Facebook. Yeah. Like, there's a few of them. Shout out Eddie Martinez.
Oh, y'all. Y'all just ain't stealing cars and stuff like that.
She's not stealing anything anymore. She's
yes. And I did I got in trouble one more time after my dad, right after my dad had passed away. I got in trouble one more time with Nando. It was Nando's fault though.
I bet you that part was that going through that motion with him always being consistently there to help you kind of pick up the pieces.
Oh my gosh, I think my dad would have been even like, but that's I think why my mom was so hurt was like, your dad just died and you're pulling this
and you're doing this.
Like you're doing this. Like, I don't need this in my life. Like I'm going through so much right now and you're still cutting up and you're still doing these things. Yeah. And that was my last like.
And that was a big nugget that you shared that I was not aware of, that you and him both went to jail and that your mom is the one that got you out.
Mm-hmm. That's when Lulu came. When Lulu came out.
Lulu is.
They said, "Oh, you got your jail name. How long were you in jail? One night."
I told Leah after that. I said, if I ever went to jail, I would end up having to be somebody's bitch because I would not. I'll hold the inside of your pocket. Just protect me.
The state stuff, like that's like for me, like, and I can't even speak. Like, there's people that I know that have been in jail for multiple years and years. Like, that was not my life, but they did put me through the Scared Straight program. So they sent me to Canyon City prior to this.
My dad helped.
He was alive because my dad had to go to the program.
Canyon City is a rough. No, my dad helped build Canyon City when
El Chapo out there.
Yes. We got off the bus. And these girls start whistling at us. And this one said, "I'm going to sit on your face." Like, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, oh my God, I'm just going to be quiet here. I'm going to be good. I'm not going to say anything. I turned into that. I was like, nope, I'm not. Nope, I ain't talking back to these girls. Like, and there was another girl on the side. She was like, F them girls, I'm going to wet on. They don't scare me. And I'm like, okay. They stole that girl's shoes. They put her in a cell. They like cornered her. Like, I was like, yeah, no, go ahead. Like, they humiliated her. And these were murderers. These are like, hey, I'm doing life because I killed my husband. I'm doing this. Like, you guys have an opportunity to change your life. You guys are cutting up. You guys are doing stupid stuff right now, and there is no need for it. And that was like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want this life. Like, all right, let me change my ways.
Can I ask you what, like, the family dynamic that you created around you friend-wise, how hard was it losing that by choosing to be different? Did you struggle with that?
No.
It was crystal clear, like, I'm done.
Yeah. I think I realized really early on is that they weren't. Like, nobody was here for you. Like, you really, even in that setting, is you want to feel like you belong, and you want to feel like you're a part of something. And you may feel a part of something temporarily, but it is not permanent.
Yep.
And if I was going to do anything with my life, I had to make the choice to do it.
Right.
That was it. Nobody was going to help me. Nobody was going to come save me.
Right.
It was my choice. And Nando was there as the partner to be able to lean on and rely on and things like that. But, getting into that whole thing, that shifted too. It's like, okay, now my dad's taken away. Now you betrayed me.
You're cutting up.
Now, you know what I mean? So I'm in this.
Angry.
Like, I have to figure this out for me. And the more and more that I started figuring out for me, the more and more I became more independent.
Uh-huh. I was just about to say that's what makes you such a strong woman.
It is. Yeah. And then it has its downfalls too. That's part two. That's part two of this story.
Oh, we're not done yet. We just
So no, I like that you went that far back.
I wanted to go far back because I feel like that makes you who you are as the woman that you are today. Like, those stories are important.
Yeah.
That's what created you.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's in between.
Speed it up.
Yeah, we speed it up. We will. So next time we will. We'll kind of dive back into, I think where I was at with, Nando and I talked on Dana. So if you guys, shout out to Dana Keith and
Keith.
Networking Your
Shout
Network.
Yes, go watch the episode.
If you guys want to see that first portion, maybe I'll see if I could get some copyrights to that too. So
Dana, you need to send over them clips.
No, you guys go and watch on there. That he really did come with the hot seat, and he asked me some pretty tough questions, because he talked about religion, he talked about my beliefs, he talked about marriage and trying to stay in that, and where we were really cutting up and just being retarded, and how you overcome. And so there's a lot in that second half of that story. So
that's what I loved so much about it is so many people, and I've said this to you over and over again, but so many people sugarcoat their love story instead of just being real.
Yeah.
And when you sugarcoat, you can't really teach people what true hurt and pain and coming out of it is really like, unless you get into the grit and the nastiness. You have to go through it. Yeah. And that's what I think made your guys' story so strong.
Yeah, and you learn, you see the lighthouse, like, pulling up in here.
Right.
You like, whoa, wow, Lea, this is real. But then you learn, like you just said, you two were in jail at one point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's all this perseverance and all of this.
She was the lookout.
Yeah. I didn't sign up for it that day. I want to go fishing. We were supposed to go fishing. That was it.
But just, you guys came from essentially nothing, but you had to work really hard to get to this point. So people sometimes, they just like to look at this part and think how easy it was. But no, it's,
It really wasn't.
Oh, I fought and I clawed, and I was like, I took myself back through, school. I got my GED because I was like, that was the first thing that I felt. I think the spirit of my dad, like, okay, girl, you need to like get your GED or do something. You dropped out. Right. I didn't want that for you. So go back to school. And so I had to go back, take that test, and then I enrolled in college. Right. Was like, all right, so let me get through this. And it was a completely opposite of who I am, but it was in science, applied science. So it was I did a 2 years associates. It was dental, but it was an emphasis on applied science. So, I got through that program. Yeah. I graduated, I finished, and I went to I quit. I got myself out of the sales because my whole thing in that was like, I don't want to work Monday through Sunday, or I don't want to work weekends. I want to have, weekends off and do my own thing. And so I was like, well, dental field, like they're Monday through Thursday sometimes, or Monday through Friday, and they have short hours. And so that was my thinking in that. And then when I picked up the camera was in 2007. So we'll catch up with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Today was good.
And I do love that you also mentioned that, because you do see a different perspective, I feel like, and other people will be allowed to see a different perspective because of the fact that you do come here and you see professional Lea and you see, okay, dang, she's doing good and she's doing this, but they don't know the back end story and they don't see this. They don't see the through. You know, they see here's where she's at and this does, and it's not easy. The first thing I tell people and entrepreneurs that are thinking about starting their own business is like, this is the hardest job you will ever do.
Hard.
Like,
There is no clock out.
There is none.
It's 24/7.
You will have to grind for yourself more than you will for anybody else. And so you have to stay in love with what it is that you do. You have to find new ways to stay in love with it. You have to take all of the punches.
Yes.
You have to learn from them. You know what I mean? Those will really build your character and they will help you grow and to get a harder, and I hate to say it, but there's a hardness that comes in that, along the road that's like, okay, I have to be this way to protect myself, my business, my family, but yeah, so we'll jump into the second part in 3 weeks or what do we
No, not 3 weeks.
3 months,
like 3 days. Nope, 3 days.
I'm gonna pull a Dana Key and say we're gonna do it in 3 months, okay?
Yes. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, this was good. Learned a lot.
Very good. Yes. Finally, Lea was in the hot seat.
It was hot. Like that was good. That was good.